What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here live for another NFL weekly review. This time, the review for week 2, also known as the bottom line, where I give you the bottom line for every NFL game, my thoughts on this past week, and the real story behind what happened this week. Not what the media is gonna feed you. Not what Tua is going to give you. But the real stuff. The detective work. In between the lines. What went down this week in week number 2. I will discuss all the biggest storylines, all the biggest games, and more. Let's rant, let's rave, and let's have some fun. So if you want to join me here tonight, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly NFL reviews just like this. Also, reminder to those of you that have no idea, I have a Patreon. You can find the link in the description. If you want to support your boy, you can head to the description and you will find Patreon. In that Patreon package, which you can just get for $3, okay, $3 a month, you are going to get all of my NFL bets every single week. My early look ahead for every NFL betting week. And back this week is BLV versus Consensus, the NFL podcast where myself, Ultra, and Lenny take a look at the NFL through the lens of the BLV. And not through the lens of any other media. We compare our takes to the other takes across the NFL. So make sure to check out Patreon. I also want to thank the people that did sign up to YouTube membership. If you want to, maybe you don't want to do Patreon, check out YouTube membership. It's basically the same thing. You get the same perks. It's just a little bit different. Okay, so check that out. I appreciate the new people that signed up to that as well recently. Okay, here we are, ready to go for the week 2 review. But before we get going, let's say hello to the people in the chat, because I want to say hello to the people in the chat. Monty is here. He says, spike the like button. We got Isaac in the chat, Steeler Nation, Bethel, Caesar, first name, last name, Vincent Vaughn. We've got Pucky on. We've got Jermari. We've got, who else? Chris. Big Data. Who says Big Data is back? Steeler Nation. Chris. Anthony. Lenny B. Thank you guys for joining the chat. And let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with Monday Night Football. As we always do. You might notice I don't got no lower thirds today. And the reason I'm not flexing on you with lower thirds today is because I want to be able to make some nice little pretty shorts for you without the lower third cutting off half the video. So that's the reason, in case you guys are wondering, where's the cool lower thirds with like the name on it? I'm not going to do that today, and I'm going to put out some shorts throughout the week from this video, because I know this video can be crazy long, and it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be anywhere in between, and that makes it so that a lot of you will probably only see bits and pieces of the show. So gonna deliver some shorts on TikTok and YouTube shorts as well. So let's go with Monday Night Football. We got the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans, 41-7 for the Buffalo Bills. Absolute shellacking in Buffalo. And the game actually started off pretty entertaining. The game started off pretty back and forth. Buffalo scored a touchdown. Tennessee countered with a touchdown. It was 7-7. And then from there on out, it was pure domination from the Buffalo Bills. And they look like the best team in the NFL. And I can't even deny it. I can't deny it. I can't tell you anything different. Josh Allen looking like the best quarterback in football, looking like the MVP of football right now. Their defense is up there as one of the best in the game right now. Their pass rush is mighty. Their offensive line's protecting Allen. Still, the run game is a little suspect in my opinion. They didn't run the ball much against the Titans. But Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen right now have to be the most in-sync Justin Timberlake duo in the NFL that there is. Now, when we look at the Tennessee Titans, I mean, the Tennessee Titans are the terrible team that everybody saw being terrible. I mean, did anybody not see the Tennessee Titans regressing to the point of being absolutely horrific? The Tennessee Titans were clear as day a regression candidate going into this season. But boy, did I see them losing 41-7 in week 2 to Buffalo. Did I see them losing to the damn New York Giants in week 1? I don't know if I could say that I did. Derrick Henry, 13 carries, 25 yards. That's pretty pathetic. And Derrick Henry does not look like the same player that he used to be. Derrick Henry, it feels like he just doesn't re-accelerate or move the way he used to, especially laterally. I mean, Derrick Henry's so slow. When you slow his first momentum down, when he's going through the hole, and then he goes through the hole, and it's like, if he hits any point of contact, he just can't maneuver himself to switch gears, to switch directions, and re-accelerate. He just looks really slow in that regard this season. Obviously no Harold Landry, injuries to the secondary. We knew Tennessee's defense would have a tough time, but I want to credit one thing for the Bills for their real fast start this season that I don't think enough people are talking about. I think obviously a lot of attention has gone to Von Miller. A lot of attention's gone to Stephon Diggs. I think one big area where they've been excelling is their quick, short passing game, which I think in the first 2 games has helped them move the football soundly, crisply, and just they're executing at a high level in that area. Early last year, it felt like a lot of teams were forcing them to find that area of the game where Josh Allen would sit back there and pick a team apart 5 yards by 5 yards. But this year, and we even saw it back in the playoffs last year, this offense has evolved. Josh Allen has evolved into this quarterback that can not only do a spinorama in the pocket, run around and throw a cannon down the field and run you over in the run game, but he can also pick you apart 4 yards here, 6 yards there, 7 yards there. And the Bills, it just feels like they turn all of these small plays into just easy completions. It's very, very, very high execution. And that's what you see in the best offenses in football. Not much else has to be said there. I mean, Tennessee, again, just very, very predictable. Just no legitimate threats at wide receiver. No one you care to stop. Everybody is in the box trying to stop Derrick Henry. I can't even really blame Ryan Tannehill because his run game's not existent. He's got no receivers to trust. His offensive line is lousy. The defense isn't what it was last year because they're hurt. And Mike Vrabel's over there just tearing his hair out. The man is about to go silver fox on the sidelines. I feel bad for the Titans, and they're not making the playoffs this year. Even in that terrible division, I'm already ready to count out the Tennessee Titans. I just am. The next game on Monday Night Football, we had the Eagles versus the Vikings. Man. I thought this game was going to be close. I did ultimately pick the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game. I did. But what I saw from the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night at home, they went to the next gear. The Philadelphia Eagles have hit a new gear, both offensively and defensively. And the most important area I want to discuss is the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles came to play versus Minnesota. I've been criticizing Gannon, saying, he plays too soft. He's not aggressive enough. He's too conservative. He plays cover 2 all the time. The quarterback just pick him apart. I thought that would keep this game close. Kirk Cousins, drop back, read it, bam, quick throw. Well, that wasn't the case. The Philadelphia Eagles defense came to play. Their front 4 not only provided some pressure, Hassan Reddick was really a standout for me. Sweat, another one that I thought played well. And then the interior guys, Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave doing their thing. But they had an edge in the running game. They weren't going to be ran on by Dalvin Cook and company. And Dalvin Cook, he did nothing. 6 carries, 17 yards, 2.8 yards per carry. That's atrocious. I don't know many defenses that can do that to Dalvin Cook, to be quite honest with you. And that just made Kirk Cousins early in the game in these situations where he's having to throw in down and distances that are uncomfortable. And yet the Vikings offensive line's improved, but they can't handle that front four. And I felt like the Eagles secondary, man, they played amazing. Avonte Maddox at the nickel position. I believe he had a pick where he went up top. He jumped like 15 feet in the air and he came down with it. Darius Slay had not one, but 2 interceptions. He locked down Justin Jefferson when he came in his area. James Bradbury had an early forced incompletion on Irv Smith that I just felt like really set the tone for that defense. The Eagles finally defensively played with a pop. They played with an edge. They played with an anger of like, you know what? Fuck you. We're going to get in your face. We're going to be physical. We're going to tackle. We're going to hit. We're going to stop the run. Instead of being, oh, I'm soft. I'm going to just hang back here. You can have the 6 yards. Well, here's the thing, Eagles. When you've got the talent, use the talent. And finally, it feels like the Eagles have figured out that they can play on defense. They've got ballers on defense. They don't have to sit back and relax and bend but don't break. Why do you got to bend but don't break when you got all this talent? So I like to see it from the Philadelphia Eagles. Offensively, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts looks like the guy. I understand he has a very good team. I understand he has a very good offensive line. Didn't really get touched all day long. Vikings, Darius Smith, Danielle Hunter, where you at? Didn't see much. Jalen Hurts on the move, making plays. Accurate in the pocket. Quick to the flat, easy money, running around, making plays, extending plays, playing within the system. I think Jalen Hurts is doing everything right now. He's making enough plays outside of structure. He's making enough plays when they're there in the pocket. He's not holding onto the ball too long a lot of the time. He's getting the ball out quick, which was an area of weakness for him last year. I still am not certain that he's ever going to be like this elite drop back passer extraordinaire. But when you have his ability to run, his ability in the designed running game, his ability to create and scramble, and then these weapons around him, Devontae Smith had a bounce back game, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Quez Watkins, Miles Sanders, who's running hard. It just feels like the Eagles are one of those elite teams in the NFC this year. And who saw it coming but yours truly? I told you the Philadelphia Eagles were the breakout team of 2022, and you said no. I still saw people picking the damn Cowboys to win this division. And once I went to Dallas and saw their fans sit on their asses, I knew that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to take over the division. But I was thoroughly impressed by the Philadelphia Eagles beating a good team soundly. They didn't just beat this team, they beat them soundly. The Eagles had 486 yards total. They had 323 passing yards. They had 183 rushing yards. That's a complete offensive attack. You combine that with taking the football away, stopping the run, and you have a complete team in the NFC that can make a real run this year. I think they're one of those contenders in the NFC, as I've thought all along. Okay, I thought all along the Eagles were elite, and you guys did not listen to me. But let's get to the Thursday night football game, which I covered here live, which was an awesome stream, guys. We had so many people popping in that chat. It was unbelievable. So I appreciate you guys if you were there. Just absolutely fantastic stream. That was a lot of fun. That was a great game, and hopefully you guys continue to come to those live streams. I have a lot of fun doing them, so we'll see you there again for Thursday night. I'm going to be live as well. Okay, so it was the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers. And I know this kind of, you guys are going to say, oh, Mitch, you hate the Chiefs. The kingdom always gets picked on around here on the BLV. And I don't even know how many more Chiefs fans I got left. But quite honestly, I'm not doing this to pick on the Chiefs. I thought that the LA Chargers, the Chargers, were the better team in that game. And I thought they should have won that game. And I understand coulda, shoulda, woulda. But I don't really care. I'm going to be quite honest with you guys. I'm going to give you a little secret about me. I don't give a fuck about who wins in week 2. I care about what's going to happen in January. I care about what's going to happen in February, okay? So the Los Angeles Chargers look like a football team. I know they lost the first matchup versus the Chiefs, but I feel like I gained more confidence in the Chargers despite the loss than I gained confidence in the Chiefs. Now, let me tell you why. Okay, let's start with this. The statistics from both quarterbacks. Justin Herbert, 33 for 48, 334, 3 touchdowns. He had the pick 6. That really is the reason they lost the game. Patrick Mahomes, 24 for 35, 235, 2 touchdowns. That's not an overly impressive stat line. Running the football, the yards were 93 to 75 in favor of the Chiefs. I mean, pretty similar there. I thought the Chiefs ran it well early. They couldn't really run it as much late. Sacks were 2-1 for the Chiefs, but I thought that the pressure that the Chargers were able to provide consistently in the game, I felt like especially Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, who were suffocating the pocket, making life difficult on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the Chiefs punted 6 times in the game, which I felt like was a little surprising. You know, you would have thought, like, if the Chargers were going to win this game, they had 6 more first downs in the game. You would have thought that if the Chiefs were going to win, they wouldn't have punted 6 times. You know what I mean? The Chargers also had more time of possession by about 7 minutes. And the Chargers held them to 4 for 12 on third down. So those are all positives there. Now, the Chargers were 4 for 4 on fourth down, which is perhaps a little fluky. But statistically, you know, the Chargers looked like the better team in the game. And I thought their defensive line caused more havoc. I thought they should have had a couple interceptions in that game, if not 3 or 4 in the game, where Mahomes threw it to the Chargers, and there were flags that reversed those plays. So really, when I watched the game live, it felt like, for one, the Chargers probably win the game if they don't throw a pick 6 at the 1 yard line, or whatever it was, like the 5 yard line. I don't even remember, but it was bad, okay? And then on the other side of things, it felt like the Chiefs got extremely lucky with some turnover luck, because the Mahomes was trying to throw picks, and the NFL wouldn't allow him. So overall, I came more impressed with the Chargers. Remember, they didn't have Keenan Allen in this game, the safety blanket for Justin Herbert in this game. Mike Williams went off, as he seemingly always does against the Chiefs. He had 8 catches for 10 on 10 targets for 113 yards and a touchdown of 14.1 yards per reception. Yeah, it was tough, man. I mean, that was a game where I really thought the Chargers should have won. They were up 17-7 at one point. Of course, in the second quarter, that's not much for the Chiefs to come back. Then at that point, Justin Watson makes a big catch down the field. Great throw from Mahomes, a 41-yard touchdown. That was on J.C. Jackson, I believe. J.C. Jackson coming back from ankle surgery, so he was obviously not 100%. And then you had the interception return and a couple field goals from the Chiefs and a late touchdown from the Chargers to make it a bit more respectable. It was 27-17 late because of that pick 6. But I mean, again, I think that the Chargers pass rush translate to late season football. I think once the Chiefs are a team that typically has their shit together early in the year, they're typically a dominant team early in the year. And I think once teams kind of figure out what they're doing with all these new weapons, it's going to be a little bit harder for the Chiefs. And I just felt like I was impressed. I was impressed by the Chargers' ability to slow down Mahomes and company in this game. I didn't expect it fully that way. On the flip side, I thought the Chiefs' defense was decent. They made some plays in the game later on, third quarter, I would say. Fourth quarter to put their team up. But in the first half, I thought it was all Chargers offense. And I don't know, man. There's something about that secondary in Kansas City. I'm not overly high on them. But this was a really good game to watch. This was a great first Amazon game. And I had a lot of fun with it. I hope you guys did too on that live stream. But like I said, my major takeaway, despite the victory for the Chiefs, was I am very high on the Chargers as the season wears on. I feel like they're going to be a very good team when they have, hopefully, all their players. Okay, so let's get to the Sunday action. The Sunday action. Let's begin with Tuanon. Let's talk about Tuanon, okay? So, the incredible comeback that the Dolphins fans are ranting and raving about today. 42-38 Dolphins win. The game began with a kick return, which just began the craziness of this football game. A kick return for a touchdown by Devin Duvernay in the first quarter, which was the only score of the first quarter. And then we had 4 touchdowns in the second quarter, 3 of them by the Baltimore Ravens. Tua to Waddle, Lamar to Bateman on a 75-yard touchdown, Lamar to Andrews, and then Lamar to Demarcus Robinson. So, let's discuss what I saw from this game watching it back. These are my notes. Rashad Bateman looks quicker and faster than I ever gave him credit for, especially on the 75-yard touchdown. But there were other plays where I thought, like, wow, this guy really looks... Because last year he was coming off an injury, and now I can fully say, like, he wasn't at 100% last year. Like, he didn't look this twitchy. He didn't move the way he moved in this game. Bateman kind of reminds me of, like, a young Keenan Allen type, or, like, a mix of Keenan Allen and a little bit of Stephon Diggs. I don't think he's as quick or fast as Stephon Diggs, but he kind of moves similarly to those players. I'm not saying he's going to be that good, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't think he was this twitchy, and he popped to me in this game, and he looks like a legit number 1 for this offense moving forward. There was a long catch and run earlier in the game where Jalen Waddle's defender fell over, and then Tua hit Jalen Waddle for a big play. That was a big catch and run in the first half. The big thing and theme that I would like to take away from this game is that I feel like both of these teams are good teams, but they're not great teams. I think both of these teams project as potential playoff teams, as potential wild card, or maybe even the case of Baltimore, a division winner. But I don't really come away from this game saying, ooh, both of these teams look like great, flawless football teams. I think there's still a lot of flaws within these rosters and these teams. And specifically when it came to Baltimore, my takeaway is like, man, they are an extremely flawed team right now that is being propped up by an incredible quarterback who is making a ton of plays out there. Lamar Jackson was superb in this game, and as many headlines as Tua is getting, Lamar was unbelievable in the game. I mean, running the ball, huge touchdown for him, that breakaway run right up the gut, which apparently Niners fans say that's not allowed. You know, running quarterbacks can't run the ball up the middle, even though we've seen Cam Newton do it 1,000 times. Lamar scored a touchdown on it, but regardless, Lamar was phenomenal, and I think he's really saving this team right now. And the Dolphins, their approach defensively early was the same as it was last year. Heavy blitz, get after Lamar, and they were just killing him. Like, they were just killing him with big plays in the passing game, big plays with quarterback design stuff. But the Ravens, man, their running game from a running back standpoint is extremely flawed. They can't run the ball. Like, the running back, the leading carry, like the leading rusher for the Ravens, 3 carries, 16 yards for Justice Hill. That is the most yards that any Ravens running back had. That's not 2019 Ravens football. That's not successful formula for the Baltimore Ravens. They need a more successful running game from their running backs, and it hasn't been there so far. And when you overly rely on their passing game, which was phenomenal in this game, thanks to Lamar, thanks to Andrews and Bateman, they don't have incredible depth at wide receiver or tight end. I mean, Isaiah Likely is like their number 3 target. Duvernay is their number 3. Likely's their number 4. Like, they've got like Demarcus Robinson off the street who got cut by the Raiders as their number 5. Like, this isn't a phenomenally deep receiving core that you're having to rely on because you can't run the ball at all. And then you get to the flip side of things of the Ravens, and their pass rush wasn't very good in this game. Never really stood out. Early on, they were blitzing Tua. They were being aggressive. Tua was making mistakes. He throws 2 interceptions in the first half, I believe. And that's why the Ravens are up 35-14. They capitalize off the mistakes. They're creating explosive plays. And this game was just a game of explosive plays on both sides. There were a number of explosive plays by the Ravens early, and there were a number of explosive plays by the Dolphins late. But the reason I say that I wouldn't get my hopes up entirely if I'm 2-0 out there is the bottom line here is that the Baltimore Ravens did not allow big plays until their entire secondary got hurt, and they just kept blowing coverages left and right and center all day long. And it literally looked like Tua entered the DeLorean, right? Tua entered the DeLorean, and with Doc Brown, he went back in time. He put a Crimson Tide jersey on, and he was watching these college defenses just give them silver platter throws, wide open throws down the field, like continuously. The big plays, right, that the Dolphins had to get back in this game were caused by Baltimore injuries and were caused by miscommunication and were caused by terrible coaching and terrible game planning by the new Ravens defensive coordinator, who I don't even want to give credit to his name. I don't even want to give his name out, because the guy is an embarrassment to Baltimore defense. What do I always come on here and say? The Baltimore Ravens have a defense every year. You can rely on Baltimore defense. Rule number 52. Well, that's out the fucking window, because the Baltimore Ravens played no defense in this game late. They allowed huge plays down the field. There was a very nice throw by Tua at the end to Jalen Waddle. There was a nice throw to Mike Gesicki, I want to say second quarter, for a touchdown. And those were great plays. And there were some nice little quick RPO throws in a tight window. But every single big play that broke the Dolphins' way in order to win this game were big coverage busts where it's like red carpet touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 48 yards, touchdown. Wide open. The guy had to stop and fair catch the football to catch it, and he still got it. The next one was Tyreek Hill for 60 yards, where I don't know what the Ravens are doing. Do they understand that they're playing Tyreek Hill? Do the Dolphins understand that they're playing a top 10 I'm going to say it right now. A top 10 receiver in NFL history who's the fastest receiver that there's ever been. The guy, he can't be covered one-on-one. Why are you trying to play off man coverage with your 8th cornerback off your depth chart? A rookie. You got rookies out there. Rookies. Rookie cornerbacks. And you're asking them to play off man coverage one-on-one with Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill's just like, okay, I'm not going to get pressed at the line. You're not going to bump me off my route. I'm just going to fly past you. And Tua's just going to throw it as high and far as he can. And really, it wasn't that hard. I mean, Tua had incredible numbers in this game. But, I mean, these guys are wide, butt-ass naked open, 40 yards down the field for free touchdowns. Like, this is, I mean, do we forget how terrible the guy was last week when a real defense was actually playing him and game planning him to make him make tight window throws? Not only that, we have a defense that in Baltimore, what do we always say about Tua? Well, Tua's pretty accurate. Tua, when he has time, is a good quarterback. Like, I've never said different. When he has time and he sits in the pocket and he can go through his reads and he can sit there and he can just pinpoint and throw it quick to the flats all the time, and he can get it like to his receivers. Bro, the Ravens were rushing 2 players sometimes. Like, what are you doing? Like, this game plan made no sense. You've got Tua literally admitted that he can't see. And this defense is not blitzing. They're not getting a rush up the middle of the field. They're not pushing the pocket, getting in the face of Tua. The guy can't see. He literally admitted it. And if you haven't seen that clip, look it up. The guy can't see, okay? And he's Baker Mayfield out there. He can't see. And they didn't blitz him one time at the end of the game. Not one time. Instead, they're playing vanilla man coverage or cover 2 where the safety doesn't even go to the right spot. I mean, what the fuck were the Ravens doing out there? I don't even understand this. How many coverage busts were there in this game? 4? 5? I mean, you got this guy. Tua's, I credit Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel has been everything he's been billed to be. He's absolutely been what they wanted him to be. What he's doing with Tua is what you should be doing with Tua because that's how you maximize him. A ton of RPOs, a ton of quick throws, a ton of getting the ball in the hands to his playmakers. We saw this in week 1, right? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert. Get the ball in the speedster's hands. Let them work. That was a ton of stuff early. Once the Ravens started to lose some secondary players and they were down to their 4th corner and they had bad miscommunication, well, all of a sudden Tyreek Hill's running down the left sideline and the cover 2 safety just disappears and the guy's wide open for a touchdown. Okay? So a ton of easy throws early, which was great game planning. They run a lot of play action, which is great game planning. I worry about the Dolphins moving forward if they can't get a run game going because for some reason the Baltimore Ravens were treating the Dolphins run game as if Barry Sanders was in the backfield. Okay, bro, you're playing the Miami Dolphins. In week 1, they couldn't run the ball. They've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at wide receiver. So you're stacking the box to stop the non-existent running game, and you've got the fastest receivers in the NFL on the outside versus bum-ass cornerbacks. Are you kidding me? That is pathetic coaching. Pathetic. Okay? Terrible. What else do I got to say about this game? I don't even know. The Dolphins defense also shit the bed for most of the game. They just kept blitzing Lamar, and Lamar was like, okay, I got a touchdown. Oh my God. Yeah, I just think this game is an aberration. You're losing 35-14, and really and I think it's an aberration for both sides, unless the injuries continue for Baltimore, because continuously lack of communication. We've seen this how many years in a row with Baltimore? They lose games because they just give up massive plays in the passing game where nobody is there to cover a guy. And this is a different defensive coordinator now. The Dolphins were Alabama open out there, guys. Alabama open, and now the people are crowning Tua as the next coming. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. This guy is a glorified Jimmy G. Okay? Glorified Jimmy G. He's a Hawaiian Jimmy G. More discrimination towards Italians. This is how this works. We hate on Jimmy G, but we love the Hawaiian boy. I don't get it. What is it? Is Jimmy G too handsome? Why do you hate on Jimmy G but not Tua? I don't get it. But credit the Dolphins for the comeback. Credit Tyreek Hill for being an absolute freak show. Credit Jalen Waddle. I think Al Davis would have traded 15 first-round picks for Tyreek Hill at this point. I think he's an MVP candidate right now. If you don't think Tyreek Hill's not an MVP candidate, I don't know. I don't know what you're watching, but that guy has changed this team to me. That guy has changed the Miami Dolphins, and this game put the NFL on notice. Don't cover Tyreek Hill with a rookie corner one-on-one in off coverage. and don't care about the Dolphins running game. Why do we care about the Dolphins running game? Bro, what the fuck? Bro, why do we care about the Dolphins? I still don't understand. Raheem Mostert ran 11 carries, 51 yards. That's fantastic. We've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Now, and I'm talking about Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle had like 160 yards or something like that. I don't even know. It's not in front of me. Tyreek Hill had 11 catches for 190 yards. I mean, I don't know. We're just all going to overreact. What's everybody saying in the chat right now? We're all going to overreact to this incredible performance. 171 yards, says Isaac. Again, Ultra is wrong. Ultra is absolutely wrong. I could throw RPOs, Ultra. I could throw RPOs to Tyreek Hill. Give me Tyreek Hill with a defense playing 10 yards off, and I will throw 10 for 15. I'm telling you, bro. Okay, let's get to the next subject. Jets and Browns. How in the hell did the Browns lose this game? The Browns were winning by 2 touchdowns with 2 minutes left. Guys, think about this for a second. The Browns were winning 30-17 with 2 minutes left in the game, with no timeout. The Jets had no timeouts. 0. Not 1. They had 0. So what happens in this game? First, we get a wide open Corey Davis touchdown. It looked like the Dolphins. It looked like the Browns were covering the Dolphins in this game. That's what it looked like. Corey Davis, wide open. Somebody just totally blew their assignment down the right sideline. Corey Davis, wide open. Joe Flacco hits him for a touchdown. So now it's 30-24. There's still like a minute 30 seconds left. So a minute 30 seconds left and no timeouts. The Jets attempt an onside kick. Okay? Onside kick this thing. We've got Amari Cooper, that guy, set up on the hands team to get the football. And Amari Cooper had a great game in this one. A great game. Amari Cooper had over 100 yards. I think he scored a touchdown in the game. Amari Cooper played phenomenal. Amari Cooper, onside kick comes. He goes like this. I don't want the ball. What was that? Bro, Amari Cooper, charm and soft out there on the hands team, goes like this. When the ball, he was scared like a spider was in front of him or something. I don't know. He was scared of the football. And then the Jets get the ball back. And then Joe Flacco just dinks and dunks his way, throws it to Michael Carter like 5 times in a row in the flat. I was watching this and I was like, are the Browns going to like tighten their defense up? Are they just going to let Joe Flacco throw 10 yards Like, I thought they were playing the Dolphins. Like, just wide open 10-yard RPO. There you go, wide open. Tua to or Tyreek Hill. But in this case, it was just, okay, get the snap out of shotgun. Bam, throw it to Michael Carter. There's 10 yards. Bam, throw it to Michael Carter. 10 yards. Bam, throw it to Michael Carter. And then I was like, they're at the 30-yard line at this point. No timeouts, but it's just been easy. I think he threw it to Tyler Conklin one time. And then a rifle, Joe Flacco rifle, January Joe returns right down the middle of the field to Garrett Wilson for this touchdown. Unbelievable. The Jets beat the Browns 31-30. Did I mention that the Browns kicker that everyone was calling the next Adam Vinatieri missed an extra point? He missed the extra point on the 30-17 touchdown. That's why it was 30-17 and not 31-17. Did I also not mention that Nick Chubb, if he just would have slid at the 1-yard line and not cared about the fantasy owners, he would have won the game. But instead, he cared about the fantasy owners because of a couple years ago or last year or whenever it was, he slid down and every fantasy owner got on Twitter and they freaking typed up a storybook about how he messed it up for them and how he lost them the fantasy game. So I think Nick Chubb had all those fantasy owners in his head, and he was thinking, I better get that touchdown. I better not slide down. I better get the touchdown. But ultimately, it's the Browns' defense's fault. It's the Browns' pathetic defense. They allow a wide open broken coverage for a touchdown, and then they just allow Joe Flacco to waltz his way down the field and score a touchdown. Terrible defense, overrated defense, and I will say this, I was totally wrong about this game. I made the under one of my best bets. I thought it was going to be low scoring. Absolutely not. It ends up 31-30. Joe freaking Flacco, baby, with the win. Garrett Wilson, breakout game for the Jets. The Jets go 1-1 to start the season. How about that? The more the Browns lose, the better the NFL is. Now, I also saw a statistic here. There have been 2,000 plus games that a team has had a lead, such as 30-17, right? With 2 minutes left and the other team has 0 timeouts. 2,000 plus games. A team has never lost that way in 2,000 plus games. And the Browns did it. Guys, this was the first time in 2,000 games that a team has lost in the way that the Cleveland Browns lost. And the last time it happened, the Cleveland Browns were the team that lost. Can you believe that? The Cleveland Browns. Unbelievable. All right. The next topic is the Raiders. Okay? The Raiders absolutely collapse, and the Cardinals come back. I broke my soul in this game. I couldn't believe this game. I told you guys, I made a video, okay, last week. I had the Raiders -3.5. I was all excited. That's a great bet. And then I come on here like the jackass that I am, and I give you my best bet of the week being the Raiders -5. And I'm celebrating at halftime. It's 20-0. 20-0. Literally 20-0 at halftime. 20-0. And I'm sitting here and I'm streaming the Seahawks and the Niners. I'm having a jolly good time. I'm talking to Becca. I'm talking to Kevol. I'm living it up. I'm going to go pop champagne. I'm going to do all that shit. The Raiders are up 20-0. Looks like they're going to run away with it. And I'm thinking in my head, not only am I thinking the Raiders absolutely are back, baby, but I'm also thinking the Cardinals fucking suck. Like, is this team going to ever recover? And then, what do we get in the second half? What do we get in the second half? We get the Roadrunner himself, Beep beep. Kyler Murray with the most ridiculous 2-point conversion attempt I have ever seen. The guy ran around in circle, like just running around in circles. And then came all the way from the right back to the left and ran the ball into the end zone. How there was not holding on that play is beyond me. How is there not holding on a 4-minute play? The guy ran 85 yards around the field. I swear, 85 yards. He was running in circles, and then he went for the 2-point conversion. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this better not happen. This better not happen. Okay? The Raiders had a 1st and goal from the 7-yard line, guys. A 1st and goal from the 7-yard line with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. 2 minutes left in the third quarter. 1st and goal from the 7. They settle for a field goal. That broke the Raiders right there. They were up 20-7 or 20-8. I don't know, whatever the score was. 20-7. And the Raiders kick a field goal. If they would have scored that touchdown, I think they win the game. I know they win the game. If they score a touchdown there, they kick a field goal. But a lot of this comeback was the Cardinals, Kyler Murray. Just Kyler Murray running around. Kyler Murray's extending plays. Kyler Murray just beep beep running around, like throwing it off his back foot. And then Greg Dortch, this guy that came out of nowhere, just being a baller. I mean, credit him. He had a good game. Chandler Jones, I think, might be washed. I mean, I didn't see him once get pressure in this game. DJ Humphries, who I have on my all-PFF 22 team, played lights out in this game. There were 4 first downs for Arizona through penalties, which was absolutely essential. Late in the game, there was kind of a bullshit PI call on the Raiders at like the 1 or 2 yard line that gave Arizona another set of downs, right? The Raiders stopped them on 4 downs at the 1 or 2 yard line, and then the Cardinals got another chance because of a crazy, stupid PI call where, again, Kyler Murray, they couldn't sack Kyler Murray. He's running around in circles, and eventually they call a pass interference. So that was ridiculous. Devontae Adams, I mean, missing man in action here. I mean, where did he go? He didn't do anything in this game. Credit the Cardinals. They shut him down. They had a good game plan for him. But really, the reason the Raiders gave this lead up is because their offense. I mean, their defense didn't play well in the second half. But man, this is Kyler Murray. You're going to keep giving Kyler Murray chances. He's going to wear your defense out because of how he plays. He's going to run around. He's going to extend plays. And when he plays, when Kyler Murray plays like every play is the last play of the game, the guy is a really difficult proposition for a defense because he's so hard to sack and he extend plays like crazy and it just becomes backyard football. The only success the Cardinals have had under Cliff Kingsbury has been solely based on Kyler Murray's ability to run around in circles and make plays. Really. The Cardinals were dead in the freaking water at halftime, and all of a sudden, they can't convert. They can't extend drives. They can't run the ball. They can't convert on 3rd down. And then ultimately, the Raiders, they punt. They settle for a field goal. Derek Carr can't hit a pass when he needs to. I mean, it's not like the Raiders pulled a Browns or they didn't pull a Ravens, right? The Browns and the Ravens like blew coverages. They left guys wide open. They had terrible coaching mistakes. They had a bad game plan. That's not what this was for the Raiders. The Raiders, I felt like from beginning to end, had a good sound game plan, played hard. Really, the only thing you could say is, yeah, they took penalties, but they didn't give up like a 50-yard touchdown. They didn't give up a 30-yard touchdown. This was about the offense for the Raiders not being able to extend drives and put the game away. That's what it was about. So you've got to blame their running game, their quarterback, their play caller. You've got to blame it all there. I mean, that was simply execution, and you've got to credit Kyler Murray making a few spectacular magician plays for them to win this game, because I didn't feel like there was a lot of comebacks this Sunday. That comeback was different from the others. This comeback was more about miraculous plays and a tired defense of the Raiders. It wasn't about a lack of coaching or a lack of situational awareness or a big busted coverage. None of that. It was about magicianship, and it was about just pure stamina. That's what it was about. So credit the Cardinals, but also, like, that's a tough one for the Raiders, and I think the Raiders will be, I don't want to say fine, but I think they'll be able to bounce back from this. I think there's still a lot of positives to take away. They're still learning an offense. They're still getting used to stuff, so I think the Raiders can bounce back from that. Okay, you want to talk about the Jags? Let's talk about the Jags, bro. Shout out to Caleb. What's up, Caleb? How you doing, man? Let's talk about the Jags. The Jags beat the Colts 24-zip. And this is not a game that I watched live, but boy, was I happy to watch it, because I bet on the Jags, one of my best bets, absolutely positively. I had them on the money line. I had them plus the 3. I had them plus 4. I bet the living daylights out of the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, because I knew that the Colts struggle in Jacksonville, and I knew before anybody else that Matt Ryan had a pea shooter of an arm, and that's the story of this game, okay? The first drive of the game for Indianapolis was their best drive of the game, period. They had a drive that they got into Jacksonville territory. They looked like they started hot. They got Nyheim Hines involved early, threw it to him on a slant, threw it to him on a screen, getting Nyheim Hines going. And then after those 3 or 4 plays, Frank Reich said, okay, Nyheim Hines, you're done for the day. You go sit on bench. We don't need you anymore. What the fuck? Nyheim Hines is the only player on this team that did anything on offense, and all of a sudden, you're going to sit him on the bench for the rest of the game? Where did he go? Why? Jonathan Taylor didn't do anything. Why is Nyheim Hines not in the game in the second half? He was your best receiver. You don't have Michael Pittman. You don't have Alec Pierce. I'm not sure if Paris Campbell played or not. Nyheim Hines, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Why you take him out the game? I don't understand that. So then we've got the Colts in Jacksonville territory, and Matt Ryan throws the ugliest interception. I mean, he threw the ball straight up into the air. Like, it looked like Tua hitting Tyreek Hill wide open for 60 yards, except Matt Ryan was throwing the ball straight up in the air for the defender to fair catch it instead of Tyreek Hill. That's what it looked like. The defender just was sitting there like this. Fair catch. I don't know what Matt Ryan was doing on that one. And then the first thing that stood out for me offensively for Jacksonville was Trevor Lawrence in the quick passing game. I thought Trevor Lawrence did a phenomenal job getting the ball out quick, protecting his offensive line, negating that pass rush, and bam, picking them apart. And I really like the way Doug Peterson has set this offense up now. This offense can attack you with so many different weapons. I mean, you can get attacked from Christian Kirk. They scored a touchdown. Christian Kirk was lined up at running back. He ran an angle route out of the backfield, and Trevor Lawrence hit him for a touchdown. They've got Marvin Jones, who is heavily involved. 1 week, Zay Jones will be involved. 1 week, you got Travis Etienne, Evan Ingram, James Robinson. All of these guys are different athletes. All these guys are different covers, and all of them are tough to cover in their own right. Trevor Lawrence looks much better from last year, both in terms of composure, in terms of confidence, in terms of execution, but also just his mechanics are more sound. You don't see as many Trevor Lawrence throws where you're like, what was that throw? Like, he threw it at the ground. He threw it at the dirt. What was that? Lawrence was able to throw it, accurately, more consistently. Jacksonville's front 4 dominated this game. Josh Allen dominated the game. Roy Robertson Harris came through. Josh Allen really had a good game, I thought. Underrated performer from this week. Jacksonville's front's athletic, it's young, it's hungry. I love watching them play right now. They're playing good football, and they really made life difficult on Matt Ryan in this game. The Jags, my overall takeaway for them is, they've risen in my power rankings. I think they're the best team in this division after this victory. They're young, they're exciting, they're raw. They will make some mistakes. Trevor Lawrence will make the odd throw into double coverage where you're like, what was that? I don't know what that was. But then the next play, he'll make a nice sidearm throw for 15 to Christian Kirk in tight window. So I feel like Jacksonville's going to be kind of a roller coaster to watch, but that's going to make them very exciting. I think right now, what I've seen through 2 weeks is they could be a playoff team. They could be the best team in this division. On the flip side, the Colts defense looks like absolute garbage. They look slow. They don't look good in really any area. Their pass rush is not as good as I thought. Their run defense, they're giving up some big gashing runs. Their secondary, we knew wasn't very good to begin with, giving up plays. I don't know. Maybe they look different when Darius Leonard or Shaq Leonard or whatever the frick his name is nowadays comes back, but Matt Ryan looks terrible under pressure. He looks hesitant in the pocket. He looks like he's seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold. He's throwing the ball for fair catches to the defense. And then the receivers, no one could get open. Like Matt Ryan, credit Jacksonville. The Colts receivers were tightly covered for most of the day. Guys weren't running wide open. This wasn't Baltimore. Guys were tightly covered. And Matt Ryan, it was tough on him. He couldn't make a lot of throws. And when you don't have that great arm strength, right? When Matt Ryan is forced to throw tight window throws with a pea shooter, he can't really make those tight window throws as well because he doesn't have a super strong arm to fit that football into tight windows, which is what you see Trevor Lawrence do right now at a pretty high level, which is probably the strongest area of his game. But this is the thing I'd like to say. Colts fans are going to say, well, we didn't have Michael Pittman. We didn't have Michael Pittman. Well, yeah, you didn't have Michael Pittman, but he's one receiver. You really weren't prepared to lose one receiver? Alec Pierce is a rookie. You really think that Alec Pierce was going to change this result of this game? He was going to change this game. We didn't have Michael Pittman. I don't care if you didn't have Michael Pittman. That's one player. One receiver. You weren't prepared to have one receiver? You didn't have enough depth? Chris Ballard, the king GM that everyone says the best GM in the game, you only had one receiver for your veteran quarterback to throw the ball to? I don't know. That's a problem to me. When the game was 17-0, it was over. It was over, which is not a good sign because usually, we saw yesterday that every team in the world can come back apparently. If the Joe Flacco-led Jets can win a game with 2 minutes left, with down 14, then any team in the NFL can win coming back. The Colts, when they were down 17-0, it felt over. They couldn't make any explosive plays. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't consistently stop the other team. It felt over. Period. Did you miss the Lions part, Cameron? No, you didn't, because I'm going to talk about them right now. Let's talk about the Lions. All right. I don't have much to say about the actual game itself. It's one of the few games that I have yet to actually go back and watch, so I apologize about that. But what I will say about the Lions, pulling up the stats here, the one thing I will say through 2 weeks in this conference, and I know Lions fans, I know you guys love to overreact, but this is what I'll say. I'm not going to try to overreact. The Detroit Lions have a chance to make the playoffs this year. And I didn't ever think that in the preseason process. I never thought that in the offseason. I never thought the Lions had an opportunity to make the playoffs. And I will come on here and I will say I was wrong. Restore the roar. The Detroit Lions might make the playoffs this year. At least they've got a chance. And the reason they've got a chance, despite having a pretty bad defense, is that offense. The offense of the Lions right now is scoring almost at will. 36 points in week 2. 36. And they left some points on the board. Jared Goff, 20 for 34, 256, 4 tutties. And his numbers could have been better than that. I mean, he missed some throws in this game. They start the game off with 10 in the first quarter, 10 in the second quarter. That's 20 to what? 20 to, what was it, 22? I don't even know. 22-0? Because they got a safety as well. 22-0. Then Washington surges back with their big play passing game, as you thought. Couple touchdowns in the third quarter. They get 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The Lions score 14 in the second half to secure that game. The Lions, they scored 36 points. They gained 425 yards. They ran the ball for 191 yards. They threw the ball for 234 yards. And despite going 0 for 2 on fourth down, going 4 for 13 on third down, guys, they went 4 for 15 on third and fourth down, and they still scored 36 points. That's pretty impressive. And they only took 1 penalty, which is also impressive at this time of the year. They got 5 sacks on defense. Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks on a pretty good offensive line of Washington. I don't think they're great, but they've been fairly average over the last couple of years. And Detroit, their offensive line already has injuries. They've been able to overcome that. They've been able to get DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams going on the ground. They've been able to get Amon-Ra St. Brown to keep catching 8 passes every single game. DJ Chark seems to be a nice complement piece. TJ Hawkinson's a complementary piece. They don't even have Jamison Williams yet. You know, that game breaker type of receiver that could just add an entirely other dimension to this team. So if Jared Goff can play mistake-free football, if he can hit some of these plays he's missing, and this defense can get a tad better, the Lions could be in the mix for a wild card spot. I don't think they're going to win their division, but in the mix for a wild card spot. Yeah, man, that's my takeaway from this game. I don't have much to say about Washington, really. Nothing that I didn't say last week. Carson Wentz had a roller coaster of a game once again. Had a nice second half. Did not come to play in the first half. That's just what you're going to have to deal with Washington. The one thing I will say about Washington, which may give you a little bit of pause for Detroit, is their defense fucking blows, dude. Like, what is wrong with their defense? Like, the coaching. Who thought it was a good idea to bring Jack Del Rio back to that team? Jack Del Rio was an absolute disaster last year. Like, they can't stop the run. They haven't been able to the first 2 games. They can't get a pass rush consistently. They're not creative. That defense needs a change. They need to fire him like tomorrow. Yesterday, they need to fire the guy. Yesterday. I don't understand. That's my Detroit rant. What else do I got to say here? Am I missing anything? The Falcons. Should we talk about the Falcons? I mean, just briefly about the Falcons and Rams. I was rooting for the Falcons when it was 28-3. I thought, hey, maybe there's a comeback in store. Maybe history is about to reverse itself here. And Atlanta almost comes back in the game. They almost win the game against the Rams. I think the Rams beat them by 4. I think it was 31-27. They survived that game. 31-27, right? Yeah, 31-27. The one thing I'll say about this is, it's not necessarily anything to do with Atlanta, mostly to do with the Rams. Okay, this is routine now. Like, it's almost like every time the Rams get a big lead, they let the lead up. Like, every single time. Like, if I was playing the Rams, I would let them get a 10 to 14 point lead, and allow Sean McVay to call his halfback dive 3 times every drive and then just come back. Like, the Rams are so lucky. It's weird how they play. Against certain teams, they get a big lead, then they let the team to come all the way back, and then Matthew Stafford or whatever, Cooper Kupp, bails them out at the end of the game. The Rams, like Amp is saying, they don't have a running game. You're right, but they try to run it anyways, right? The Rams like refuse to still play the way they've been playing. They get into a shell and they just give the game back to the other team. And a part of it is turnovers too. Like Stafford had 2 picks in the game. They got a punt block in the game. They fumbled. Cooper Kupp fumbled. That's basically 4 turnovers in the game. I don't care, if you got the 1984 Niners out there. Like, the game's going to be close if you turn the ball over 4 times, right? So, the Rams just feel like every time they play a team nowadays, they get up, then they get lead, they allow the lead to come back, and then they somehow win the game. So that's concerning. But there's a lot of concerning elements for the Rams in this game. I know they won the game, and I know they kind of dominated the first half. But, again, like, their defense, I don't know, 27 points, 17 in the fourth quarter. They allow how many yards? So they didn't allow a ton of yards, but, like, I don't know. I just don't feel good. I don't feel good about the Rams right now. Their offense, to me, I think is overrated at the moment. Their offensive line, their running game is non-existent. They only really have one receiver to go to. Stafford's going to throw you the ball once a game, it feels like, for the Rams right now. I don't know, man. I don't feel good about the Rams. I don't like where they're at, even though they won this game. Okay, so that's kind of my brief thoughts on that. Let's talk about coaches here. Let's talk about the Bengals and the Cowboys. The Cowboys upset the Bengals 20-17 in an upset special. The Bengals were down 17-3 in this game. They continue to start slow, and the first 2 games have almost mirrored each other. It wasn't as wacky in this Cowboys game, but the Bengals basically get down big early, try to throw their way back in it. Burrow makes some nice throws. Chase makes some big plays, but they're just not able to come back fully. And it's not all Joe Burrow's fault, but the guy's got to take his Cartiers off, bro. Get your sunglasses off. Can you not see the pass rush in front of you? How many times are you going to take a sack? Because at the end of the day, quarterback stats include sacks. Sacks is a quarterback stat. If you don't believe me, I'll do a little study, okay? Go to Peyton Manning's Pro Football Reference page and look at his sacks every season of his career. And then go to Dan Marino's Pro Football Reference page and look at how many sacks he took every season. And then after that, if you're still interested, look at Drew Brees' Pro Football Reference page and check how many sacks he took every year. And then if you're not convinced by that, go look at Tom Brady's Pro Football Reference page and check out how many sacks he takes every season. No matter what the offensive line is, no matter who the coordinator is, no matter who his receivers are, sacks are typically a quarterback stat. And Joe Burrow took 6 sacks in this game, guys. 6. I understand he's got a new offensive line. He's got new pieces. Bro, you've got Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, who's healthy. Joe Mixon is your running back. All-world team. All-world supporting cast. You get sacked 6 times. These sacks kill drives. They kill drives. Credit Micah Parsons with another 2-sack game. The guy's a monster. Dorrance Armstrong, shout out to him. 2 sacks by him. The Cowboys got a real defense. The Cowboys defense is good. I think you can see that through the first 2 weeks. You know, they got the ball moved on them a bit by the Bucs, but they ultimately allowed 19 points. They kept their team in the game. In week 2, they allow 17 to this all-star cast of weapons. And most of it was because they got pressure with 4 on Burrow, and Burrow was just like, okay, I'll get sacked. I won't throw the ball away. I won't keep our offense on track. I won't keep our offense in a good down and distance. I won't allow our play caller any flexibility because on second down, I'm just going to get sacked for 5 yards. So that's the way it works for the Bengals right now. So I am blaming the 0-2 start, not on Zach Taylor, even though I don't think he's a great coach, not on the defense, absolutely not on the defense, not on the lack of running game in this game, which the Cowboys did a good job of negating Joe Mixon, certainly not on Jamar Chase or the receivers. I am putting most of the blame on Joe Burrow for these losses because of the amount of pressure he's been willing to take on. And sure, late in the game, when the pass rush is a little tired and you're running around and making these cool throws, it looks great and it gets you back in the game. But if you just played a little bit more of a managed game at the beginning and you didn't put your team behind the 8 ball early, you wouldn't have had to come back so much. So I don't know, man. Joe Burrow's just not playing well right now. It's kind of reminds me of like Mahomes' weird blip last year. It's the reason. I think it's the reason they're losing. Now for the Cowboys, I thought they did a much better job offensively of just getting guys involved. Like Brown and Lamb both had good days of 75 plus receiving yards. Tony Pollard got the ball a lot more. He had 9 carries. He had 4 catches. Nearly 100 yards. They were a lot more efficient on the ground. As we know, the Cowboys are better offense when they run the ball. The Cowboys, I thought Trevon Diggs, for as much hate that he gets, I thought he did a good job on Jamar Chase when he was in coverage there. Jamar Chase did not have a great game. He was held in check. Credit Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn is kind of proving these last 2 years. Maybe he's not the best head coach in the world, even though he wasn't bad. He's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. Now, in terms of their total yards, 254 yards for the Bengals. That's not good enough. That's under 300 yards, right? They were outgained in the game, the Bengals were, despite a comeback that they had, right? Usually a team that comebacks late and they score a bunch of touchdowns late and points late, usually they end up kind of evening the yardage totals out. They still couldn't out yardage total a team with a backup quarterback. The Dallas Cowboys beat the Cincinnati Bengals with a backup quarterback, and they absolutely killed my soul because I had the Bengals plus 2.5, and they end up losing by 3. So what type of mess is that? But yeah, that hurt. Let's talk about Jimmy G. Okay, Jimmy G is back. The Italian stallion, Jimmy GQ, Jimmy Gucci Carap. He's back in the lineup. And I'll just say that Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback of the 49ers just feels like a soft pillow. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that he's not great. I understand he's going to make his fair share of bad throws and plays. But I just know what the 49ers are now. I know what the 49ers are. I know they're going to be good. I don't have to worry. I don't got to look over my shoulder. I don't have to stress. There's already all these teams in the NFL that I don't know if I can bet on them. I don't know what they're going to do this week. I don't know how they're going to play. Well, now we got another team where I can just sit back, I can relax and say, I know what the Niners are with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're going to run the ball well. They're going to play freaking great defense. Their front seven's going to dominate the game. Kyle Shanahan's going to put up his Kyle Shanahan specials where there's 3 guys open on a play, and then Jimmy's going to hit them. We don't got to worry about Trey Lance missing a guy by 5 yards. We don't got to worry about Trey Lance staring down his first target on the play and throwing the ball at the guy's shins. We don't got to worry about
design runs going for negative yards or minus or 2 yards and then he blows his knee out. We don't got to worry about any of that. And I'm not trying to be mean about Trey Lance and all that stuff. I hope he comes back. I hope he's healthy. I hope the guy eventually works out as the future of the team. But I will say this. It's not a good look to go to the strip club after you lose to the fucking Chicago Bears in week 1. I don't care if it was a monsoon. I don't care if it was a hurricane. I don't care if it was a typhoon. I don't care if it was an earthquake. I don't give a fuck what it was. You're going to the strip club you lost to the Bears. Get in the gym. Get on the freaking practice field. Throw the football. Learn how to freaking accurately throw the ball. So we've got a real man here. We got a real mature quarterback at the helm now. His name is Jimmy Garoppolo. He's back in the game. And the Niners are probably going to go to the Super Bowl now. That's what's going to happen. It was meant to be. Now the Niners are back as an NFC contender. Jimmy G looked good in the game. They didn't have any game plan plays because Jimmy Garoppolo didn't even freaking practice with the team. But you know guys, that Kyle Shanahan, they didn't want to trade the guy because they were watching Trey Lance play in practice and they're like, the guy's not good. Like, we're going to try this experiment out. I'm just being honest with you guys. I know the guy got hurt and it sucks, but I'm being honest. This is what I'm paid to do, okay? Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo has always been better than Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo is always the better quarterback for this team if they wanted to win a Super Bowl this year. And Jimmy Garoppolo will be the quarterback now. And everybody is sitting here saying, Trey Lance, I saw this ridiculousness on Twitter. I saw this ridiculousness that the Niners fans were blaming Kyle Shanahan for calling a run up the middle for Trey Lance, and that's why he got hurt. Oh my God. Are you guys like literally have no brain cells? Are you guys that pathetic? Okay. Trey Lance was drafted for the same reason Cam Newton was drafted. What is this athlete? This is a big, strong, beefy quarterback. What can he do well? He's got a cannon for an arm, and he can run. That's what he can do. He's not accurate. He can't throw the ball a lick consistently to hit his receivers. So how are we going to win games, guys? We're not just going to concede. We're not going to throw the ball 30 times a game. If you're Kyle Shanahan, why the fuck would you want to throw the ball 30 times a game with a quarterback that can't throw? So you got to throw the ball with this guy 35 times a game. And that's what the fans want. Well, then I guess you guys wanted to lose. That's all I'll say about that. I guess you guys wanted to lose. Okay? So you got Trey Lance. The only way you're going to win is run. He was made to run. He ran in college. The reason he was drafted was to run the ball. That's what he added to the offense that was better than Jimmy G. Isn't that why you wanted him in the game? Is because he could run? He could add a dimension to the running game? That's what everybody kept saying. He could add a dimension to the running game because he's fast. And the guy runs like a fullback. So you're running him up the middle. And the call on the play was 3 different options. Trey Lance didn't have to take the run. He could have handed it off. You know why, and I hate to say this. But I've been there. Sometimes you get hurt because there's something to do. There's mental issues right now with Trey Lance. And it's probably confidence related for him. That's probably why he got hurt. He might have not known. I don't know. I think there's something there. I'm just going to throw that out there. I feel bad for the guy. I hope he gets back to 100%. But sometimes you get hurt, not because of what happened to you physically, but first, what happened to you mentally. So mentally leads to physical, and sometimes that's what can happen on a football field in a physical sport like that. The guy never learned to slide either, so I mean, I don't know. That tweet was absolutely ridiculous. It's just ridiculous to see these things where people are so excited for the running game of the quarterback, and then all of a sudden they blame the play caller for running the quarterback. Anyways, I'm glad to see Jimmy Garoppolo back. Jimmy Garoppolo deserves to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Guy's gone to a Super Bowl. Guy's gone to the NFC Championship. I don't care if he's been carried or whatever. We'll see what he can do with this football team. We know that they're going to become, that hopefully he can stretch the field a little bit more. I think if you're a Niners fan, you're hopefully Jimmy can hit some more downfield throws that would take this offense to the next level. But I thought Jimmy looked crisp. I thought he looked healthy. I thought he looked accurate as he always does in the middle of the field. He's going to have a strong intermediate short presence over the middle of the field where he can get the ball out quick. He's got a quick release. But yeah, I think this is a really good Niners team. And I think there's a lot of rumors. There's too much smoke leading to fire that there were some players that didn't agree with Trey Lance starting because he wasn't ready. And he was a year away from being a year away. And Jimmy Garoppolo, they wanted him to be the guy. And it's unfortunate how it happened. But it's also, as a fan of the NFL and as a fan of the Niners the last few years, they're going to be winning games. So that's cool to see. And I think it would suck if they use this team trying to build up a young quarterback that may never get it or have it. So, good luck to Trey Lance in his recovery. Stay out of the strip club, and hopefully you come back 110%. But for now, it's Jimmy Garoppolo redemption time. It's Jimmy Garoppolo's opportunity to come back and prove the haters wrong, including myself, because I've said plenty of things about Jimmy, saying he doesn't have it. But maybe we get the best Jimmy ever. Maybe he's got a chip on his shoulder. Who knows? I mean, he was this close a number of times from doing it before, so why can't he get this much better to put the team over the top? I don't know. Maybe he can. I don't know. Okay, so let's read Ultra's comment here, and then I'll respond to it, because I'm sure there's people that have the same idea. Ultra says, Kyle called a quarterback run between the tackles for Lance against a base defense that was expecting a run, result of 2 yards and 1 broken ankle. Why didn't Jeff Wilson or another running back receive the carry? So it wasn't a quarterback run up the middle. I believe it was a read option play where the quarterback could run or hand it off. Secondly, Kyle said on the play, and I don't think he would lie because Trey Lance would call him out, that there were 3 options on the play. So that's what he said in the press conference. Now, he says it was a bad decision. What are you expecting on 2nd and 8? So Ultra, let me read to you Trey Lance. Hold on. Trey Lance profile. Let me see. So Trey Lance coming out 6'4", 226 pounds. In college, he had in 2019 169 rushing attempts, 14 rushing touchdowns, 1,100 yards. Very impressive numbers. Let's now look at his draft profile. Okay. Draft profile, NFL.com. You guys can look this up for yourselves if you like. I am just doing this on the laptop in front of me right now. And it's playing a commercial. Okay. Strengths. Let's see if it says anything about running. Okay. Above average speed, athleticism, and power. word is blanked out, but it says when on the move as a runner. Able to move the chains in a variety of ways. Let's see any of his weaknesses. Anything about running here? Weakness. Needs to get his slide game up and minimize collisions as a runner. That's interesting. I didn't look at this previously, but that's interesting to me. So Trey Lance was drafted at 3rd overall, not just because he had a cool rocket arm, but because he could run, right? So you're asking the coach to not call runs to not win the game because you know he's going to get hurt after the fact. I don't know. Makes no sense to me, but anyways. Yeah. That is the Niners. Now let's end the show with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints. Oh, I also got to talk about the Patriots and the Steelers. Let's talk about the Patriots and Steelers first, and then we'll talk about the brawl that was Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore. So I watched the Patriots-Steelers game live while I was watching and doing the game live for the Saints and the Bucs. And then I watched it again just in case I missed anything because it was on my laptop in front of me. So the Patriots and the Steelers. First note I have is the Patriots defense is real. Their front four is way better than last year. Dietrich Wise pops on nearly every pass rush rep. That guy is playing the best football I've ever seen him play, whether he's lined up on the edge or he's lined up inside. Christian Barmore had a sack. Matt Judon is flying around. This front four, man, really solid. I think their run defense is a lot better than last year, as indicated by the first 2 games versus the Dolphins and the Steelers. They're going to get a better test in week 3, obviously, versus the Baltimore Ravens and the dimension of Lamar Jackson, which again is a guy that was drafted to run the football at quarterback the same way Trey Lance was. But of course, the Ravens aren't worried about him getting hurt. So Patriots defense is real. Their front four is real, and could be a game changer for this team. They dominated. They whooped the Steelers' butt up front all day long, and that was a big difference maker. Trubisky was under a lot of pressure. He was forced to a lot of uncomfortable throws. Even some of Trubisky's better throws were like off platform because of the pass rush. At linebacker, the Patriots started Mack Wilson in this game. They did not start him in week 1. He started in this game. He made a difference early. His speed, his athleticism is a game changer for them. They don't really have a lot of athletes at linebacker. So putting Mack Wilson there was big for them. He caused an interception, batting the ball, and then Jalen Mills caused and took away the football with the pick. I thought that the Patriots at the end of the game especially did a great job of possessing the ball, but I think overall the strength of this offense right now is their ability to be comfortable working the ball down the field. Like, they're really good at piecing plays together. They're not a very explosive offense, although we saw a couple of explosive plays in this game. Nelson Aguilar had a long, impressive touchdown where he mossed the defender. That was pretty cool to watch. But Mac Jones with his quick passing game and then their running game together is a pretty competent, especially at the end of the game when they have a lead. It's really tough to stop them from getting a first down because of how good they are in those two departments. Their offensive line also dominated this game, and the trench warfare between New England and Pittsburgh, which typically Pittsburgh's a very tough team to beat on the trenches, right? At the point of attack, Pittsburgh's a really good team. New England beat them on the offensive and defensive lines in this game. They handled them in the pass rush. Mac Jones had a pretty clean pocket all day. And running-wise, I thought Damian Harris looked really good. Ramondre Stevenson had some holes to work. So the running game was back, and I felt like the Patriots' offensive line played way better this week than they did last week, especially when it came to picking up blitzes, which you knew Brian Flores and company were going to throw that at them. I thought Mac had a good game. Some people have been criticizing him. I thought he had a good game. I didn't think he had a great game. I think he was very good in the quick, short passing game and very accurate. I thought he made a couple plays with his legs to extend plays, and he picked up a first down or two running. But the one interception that he threw was really bad. He almost threw another pick, by the way, which was also bad. So he had a couple bad decisions, a couple potential turnover-worthy plays. And in that type of game where you know the Steelers aren't really moving the ball, they're not scoring a lot of points, Trubisky's struggling, all that sort of stuff, Mac should know better than to do that. But that one throw intended for Parker, which it just feels like every time Mac Jones throws towards Devontae Parker, it's an interception. It's almost like he's force-feeding him the ball in order to like make him happy or something, but it's not working. Like every time he throws to Devontae Parker, it's intercepted. This time by Minkah Fitzpatrick, not a good play. He needs to do better than that. I thought that the offense, though, really did run through Mac Jones and ran through Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar a little bit deeper down the field. Jacoby Myers really had an awesome game, playing that like Welker Edelman role that's had a lot of success against the Steelers in the past, working the underneath zones, winning the one-on-one matchups. He did a great job there, exceptional job. I thought he had one of his best games I've ever seen him play, to be honest with you. Cole Strange continues to play really well. Trent Brown played elite in this game, struggled in week 1 with blitz pickup, but he played better in this game. And my biggest takeaway from the Steelers is really that Trubisky is not the answer. Like he didn't look good. And I wish he would have played better, but he just doesn't look the part. I think sooner rather than later should be the answer for Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett looked good enough in preseason to make this switch soon. Trubisky just doesn't look good at all. And, you know, he made a couple nice throws, and he didn't really turn the ball over too much, but he just didn't make enough plays. Like, didn't make enough plays to win this game. But I will say again, the offensive line got their ass kicked, and Najee Harris couldn't run the ball at all. And Najee Harris has got to be one of the more overrated players in the NFL right now. Like, the guy just doesn't create explosive plays. Like, he breaks some tackles and stuff, but he's just not a very explosive running back. Their weapons did impress me, though, for the Steelers. I thought Deontay Johnson, despite only like 58 yards, had like a deceptively good game. If you look at the box score, it would be like, he didn't play good. But when you watch the game, he played good. Claypool played solid. Fairmouth scored a touchdown, made some plays. Still no George Pickens, though. Not a lot of George Pickens involved. Defensively for Pittsburgh, I thought they were okay, but I thought New England moved the ball a lot more than 17 points indicated in the game. Obviously, Gunner had the fumble on the punt return as well, which was a gift for New England. But yeah, I thought New England won that game pretty handily, pretty soundly, and pretty well. And I was impressed by the Patriots, especially defensively through the first 2 weeks. I think this is a team that if they could continue to just get better in the areas they need to get better, they could compete for a wild card spot, I think, still. The offense needs to continue to get better, find ways to create explosive plays. I want to see them implement more motion, more play action as we get a little bit deeper into the season. But as long as their offensive line and defensive line continue to play this well, I think they have a chance. I think they have the chance this week against Baltimore. Like I said, Baltimore's defense looked real suspect this week, and it's a lot of Lamar on offense. And typically, Belichick can slow that down. So we'll see what happens. I do want to see these younger players in the secondary continue to get reps. Jack Jones, Marcus Jones, I want to see them get reps because I do think that they could get even better there if those players, you know, kind of come into their own, because right now they're playing some of the older guys like Miles Bryant at nickel and that sort of deal. Tavai is playing linebacker. Like, if some of these younger guys can get in there and start to go to work, I think that could make their defense even better than it is right now. Okay, so that's my takeaways from the Patriots and the Steelers. And then lastly, let's discuss Bucs and Saints. Okay, so the Bucs beat the Saints finally 20-10. This was one of the marquee games for me, at least, of Sunday, and probably the marquee rivalry in the NFL today in terms of, for me personally, the rivalry game in the truest sense of the word that I circle for the last 2 years, where I'm like, this game's going to be a lot of fun. No matter how good the teams are or who's the quarterback for each side or whatever, the Bucs and Saints just have issues with each other. Like, they hate each other. Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans despise each other. They had a brawl in this game, which led to a Mike Evans suspension, which he's appealing, and we'll find out tomorrow whether or not he won the appeal. If you guys didn't hear about the weird stuff in the appeal, the problem with the suspension is that the ref that suspended Mike Evans is the father of a guard on the Green Bay Packers, who the Bucs play this week. So there might be a legitimate case for Mike Evans to actually appeal this, because it looks like there could be bias involved in the suspension, at least from that view, which might be a little bit unfortunate for the Packers or for, the ref that made the call, but that's kind of the way it looks, you know what I mean? But I do understand a 1-game suspension based on the brawl, but I also feel like they were right in the moment. I described this during the game. I thought that was the correct call. I said before they even made the declaration of Evans is booted, Lamar is booted, they're both out of the game, I was like, yeah, it should be Evans and Lattimore that both go. I didn't actually see that Marcus May punch somebody in the face. I didn't see that either. So Marcus May probably should have got a penalty. I missed that part. Some people were saying like, oh, Tom Brady should be kicked out of the game. Tom Brady didn't touch anybody. So chirping, I don't think gets you disqualified from the game. Mike Evans and Lattimore both got booted from the game. They both should have got booted from the game. They both got in a fight. Obviously, Lattimore kind of started everything, and then Evans ran onto the field and absolutely demolished him, and then it started from there. So that's how it went down. But yeah, that was a game changer. That was kind of like, they reminded me of a hockey fight. Like a lot of times in hockey, a guy, the goon, whoever, will step up, he'll fight to change the course of the game, the momentum, he'll lay a big hit, he'll do something, right? You get the fourth line out there to crash and bang, and it changes the momentum of the game. And that's kind of what happened, because actually it ended up helping the Bucs, because it allowed some of the plays to be open down the field for the Bucs passing game, and yeah, it aided the Bucs to be able to execute down the stretch offensively, and the Saints still weren't able to do anything on their offensive side of the football. My main thought throughout the game watching it was, I've never seen Tom Brady more frustrated than I saw him in this game. I've never seen Tom Brady as angry, as visually upset, as pissed off as I've ever seen him in this game. Tom Brady often does get pissed off. He is very competitive, but you could tell how much this game meant to Tom Brady. I feel like the story of him continuously losing to the Saints since he's gotten to the NFC South has been a big one that's bugged him. And who knows, maybe some off the field stuff also contributing to the personality and the state of mind of Tom Brady right now. But he seemed to be very angry throughout the game. He's also dealing with a lot of backups on offense. He's also dealing with a lot of backup receivers that I don't know if he really trusts. He hasn't built a rapport with. So those things are thrown into the mix. Some guys were dropping the ball, all that stuff as well. But Tom Brady was pissed in this game, from start to finish, not just in one little bit or minute or piece of time, which usually Tom Brady will have one big blow up and then he'll be fine. This was the whole game. This was the whole game. I do think Tom Brady played better than his stats indicate in this game. I thought he put the ball on the money a number of times for opportunities for some catches. Scotty Miller dropped a couple big balls down the field that could have really changed this game and made it a more decisive victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this one. Brashad Perryman dropped, I think, a pass or two. There were drops here and there by the team, and the pass rush was actually negated for the most part. I felt like even with the backups in there, the Bucs offensive line held up, played very well. And that's kind of weird to say because the Bucs didn't score that many points. The Bucs weren't really super executing all the way, but the Saints didn't get a ton of pressure on Brady. I thought Brady was pretty calm back there and able to do what he wanted. It was very good coverage and tight coverage, and I felt like sometimes the receivers let him down. I do feel like the running game for the Bucs was heavily relied upon. They were trying to get it going a lot, and it just wasn't overly efficient. It was very effective in week 1 against the Cowboys when they needed it to be. But this past week, the Saints are very good against the Bucs. run game. And the Saints know how to stop that type of running game. The Saints are not so good at Jalen Hurts run game, Marcus Mariota run game. But when it comes to the power running game of the Bucs, they seem to have a handle on that. And that showed up once again. That put the Bucs in a lot of tough situations because they couldn't run the ball very much and set Brady up in manageable third down, so to speak. And Byron Leftwich was probably told in this game, play it conservative, play it close to the vest. Don't go crazy. Don't pass the ball too much on first down. Run the ball. Let's play a defensive game. Let's just, let's make this one close at the end, and hopefully Brady can outplay Winston. And that was kind of the way it went. I think a lot of people in today's day and age are too focused on style points in the NFL. Too many people are focused on, how a team won, if a team passed for 300 yards or they ran for 100 yards, or if they won defensively or they won special teams or they won because of the quarterback or they won because of the running back. Sometimes to beat a certain team in a certain matchup, you have to play a certain way. And this is the case for all teams in all sports. You guys know if you've played a team sport before and you face a certain team, you know it's going to be a certain type of game just because you've seen it before. And sometimes you've got to play into that type of game in order to win it. And it's going to come down to the end. And whichever team makes more plays at the end is going to win. And that's what it felt like in this game. The Bucs intentionally played a close game. And offensively speaking, they didn't try to get too aggressive. Brady never threw a pass that was really risky at all. He never went out of his way to throw the ball into double coverage. He never went out of his way to throw a deep ball down the right sideline one-on-one. He never tried to throw it into an overly tight window. Tom Brady played kind of like 2019 Tom Brady, and he was kind of like, well, I'm going to try to make some plays when they're available, but if it's not there, I'm gonna throw it away. He threw it away a lot, or I'm just gonna not make a dumb throw. And Brady just tried not to turn the ball over, which he has turned the ball over in the past against the Saints, and that's been part of the reason they've lost. So part of the reason the Bucs weren't super successful on offense is because Brady was super conservative, the play calling was super conservative, and they didn't have a lot of their weapons there. Saints offensively, I felt like they played similarly. They tried to run the ball a bit. They had some success early, not a lot of success later. Their passing game was just bottled up. They really didn't have a lot in the passing game. Jameis was pressured more than Tom, I would say, in this game. He was sacked 6 times. He also held on to the ball longer. He was trying to find plays that weren't necessarily there. And the Bucs coverage, I think the thing that stood out to me in the first 2 weeks for the Bucs defense, they've had a ton of sacks. I'm sure they lead the NFL in sacks, or they're at least up there. But they, coverage-wise, have been all over every offense the first 2 weeks of everything they want to do and everything they want to be. It feels like there's 2 guys around the football every time Jameis or Dak were throwing the football. And that is a very nice thing to see if you're a Bucs fan, because one of the biggest weaknesses of the Bucs has been an over-reliance on playing in the box, trying to stop the run, trying to be aggressive, trying to blitz, which leaves more man-on-man or leaves more single coverage. I feel like the Bucs have leaned more towards coverage, more towards let's get multiple bodies in these zones and clog up the middle of the field, and let's force these quarterbacks to make tight window throws, and then let's attack the football. Jamel Dean played phenomenal in this game. He had 2 picks. There were some shots available down the field to Chris Olave, and they didn't connect really at all in this game. There was only one that it connected when the game was kind of over already, and then he ended up fumbling the ball. But yeah, the Bucs defense is playing amazing. They're playing the best defense in football. They're stopping the run well. They're getting to the quarterback. They're covering well. They're playing fast. They're playing creatively. They're showing multiple different looks. And Akeem Hicks is going to be out for probably a month, it looks like. But they've got plenty of depth there on defense to replace him. Hopefully, I think the biggest test for them next week will be stopping the run of the Packers. And we'll see if the Packers can throw the ball on them. I think that's going to be a tough test for the Packers passing game. Offensively, a lot of people are worried about the Bucs. I'm not too worried about it. I just think they're missing pieces. And like once they get that personnel back, they'll be more towards what they were last year. And what else? I mean, that's pretty much it. That's kind of the story of the game for me. The Bucs did fumble at the 25-yard line. The fumbled snap. The Saints fumbled. Logan Ryan punched the ball out of somebody's hands. I want to say it was Tony Jones or somebody. I don't remember, but he punched the ball out of somebody's hands. And then a 4th and 1, which was at, I think, the 10-yard line of the Saints, and the Bucs failed that play. The rookie guard ran the wrong play, and then the run got blown up. So the Bucs, to me, are the best team in the NFC right now. I think long-term, once they get their offense cooking and this defense continues to play well, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure. The disrespect is real for Tampa Bay right now. Like, everybody is disrespecting Tampa Bay. I don't know why. They're 2-0 right now. They're playing dominant defensive football, the best defense in football. Tom Brady still looks like Tom Brady. I understand that their offense isn't putting up a ton of points, but they don't have a lot of their weapons. They're missing guys on the offensive line. Once they get to 100%, this is going to be a scary football team. So don't underestimate the Bucs. They're real. They're good. And you can still win with defense in the NFL today, especially when you got a great quarterback on the other side of the ball. Chris Godwin gets back. Mike Evans gets back. Julio gets back. This team's going to be tough to stop as well. So I just don't get the disrespect. It's totally ridiculous to me. All right, guys. That is it. That is the bottom line. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe to the channel. And let's read some late comments here, and then I'll get out of here. So Amp says it's because they haven't played any elite teams or quarterbacks yet. So they played Dak last week, and they played the Cowboys, who made the playoffs last year. The spread was 2.5. So not a lot of respect given to the Bucs in that game. They covered by 16.5 points in that game. And the Cowboys beat the Bengals this week with their backup quarterback. In week 2, they played a team that beats them seemingly every time they play by 10 points, which is double digits. They covered the spread, which was only 2.5. Not a lot of respect given there. So, and then we saw what the Cowboys defense did to the Bengals. The Saints defense is good. A lot of people project a top 5 unit this year. Maybe they just played good defenses. That coupled with injuries kind of makes sense that they're lower scoring games. I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it, at least. Mark Ingram fumbled. Okay, yeah. The Cowboys offense looked terrible. Did the Cowboys offense look terrible because it was the Cowboys offense or because it was the Bucs defense? And then I will also say, and Jameis scored 14 for the Bucs himself. Jameis scored how many points last week? 27? I don't know. I'm just pointing these things out. Ultra says, do you think the Bucs will shift more towards the 2019-2021 style of defense when they're more committed towards the run this week? Green Bay's offensive strength appears to be the run game. I think they'll kind of test the Packers. I think they'll play to stop the run first. So if that's what you're asking by that question, I think they're going to play to stop the run first, because I think Todd Bowles has always done that against the Packers. He's kind of forced the hand of the Packers to beat them. Weird as it sounds, I feel like part of the problem for the Packers is they have not been able to run the ball against the Bucs in the past. The Bucs are the number 1 team in the NFC, in my opinion, yeah. Most intriguing matchup for next week, it's probably Brady and Rodgers, but other than that, let me check. There's some good games. Patriots, Ravens, obviously, as a Patriots fan, I think that's a good game. Let's see. Bills Dolphins is a good game. Chargers Jags is an underrated game. Broncos Niners is a good game as well. Raiders Titans, only because the loser of that game, their season might be done. So there's a number of good games. Even the Lions and Vikings could be a pretty good game. And Amp, I don't think their offense is a problem. They were the best offense in the NFL last year. They just have injuries. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm right. All right, guys. That's it. We will see you later. Peace.